All black the Necrosword, the slicer of worlds, the Annihilablade, the blade that slew 1 billion gods. Crafted at the beginning of existence by Knull, the god of symbiotes, the blade was used by him for eons until it was misplaced during a conflict and acquired by Gorr, the god butcher. Gorr employed the sword in his crusade to exterminate all gods in the cosmos, using it in numerous confrontations with Thor throughout the millennia before ultimately falling to a trio of Thor incarnations from different eras. Transferred among various bearers after being abandoned in the future, the Necrosword was eventually seized by Loki, the god of lies, who intended to wield the sword to eradicate all life across the universe. After reviving Gorr and merging with All Black, Loki vanquished Thor, but was later deceived and dismembered by the God Butcher, who had devised his own scheme to obliterate anyone who recalled the gods. Engaging in battle with Thor, Loki, Thor's granddaughters, and the deities of Indigarr, Gorr was overpowered, and the Necrosword was ultimately extinguished permanently. From the Thor, God of Thunder issue 9, we learn the following about Necrosword. The true history of Gorr's blade had been lost to time, though there were many different stories and legends. Some believe it was a blade shaped by the ancient gods and utilized in the era of creation to sculpt existence from the indestructible stone of void. Others believed it was the embodiment of all divine darkness, and that its wielder was merely a conduit for its lethal intent. Legends recount that it had exterminated countless before Gorr, that it had swept through realms like a blaze through parched fields, that its force would perpetually expand until the day it ultimately cloaked all of eternity in shadow. Before we delve into the Necrosword, let's define one of its abilities: Umbrakinesis. Umbrakinesis is the capability to mentally generate and control darkness itself, the absence of light. You can essentially create objects from darkness, and here are some examples of Gorr, the God Butcher, doing just that via the Necrosword. Initially, it was transformed into a honed stone that the then powerless Gorr used to execute his first god. Subsequently, Gorr formed a blade directly from his hand with it. Gorr then fashioned chains that he utilized to torment numerous gods throughout the ages, including young Thor as depicted in this panel. Here, Gorr cloaked himself with the blade, equipping himself with armor. He lashed Volstagg and crucified him with it. Any fragments of Gorr's blades that broke off during his combat with Thor transformed into black maggots that burrowed into Thor's skin, as stated in this panel from Thor, God of Thunder issue 9. Loki converted the remainder of his necro power into a stone, which Gorr commandeered to crucify Loki. In this panel, Gorr crafted the Annihilablade, a colossal double-edged sword that he used to bisect a star. Although somewhat obscure in this illustration, Gorr deploys his tendrils to impale Old King Thor. Next, he uses the same tendrils to sever Loki's arm. Admittedly, Loki got what he deserved. Here, Gorr conjured a gigantic serpent that battled Old King Thor. Then he summoned an immense raven as shown in this panel. Gorr darkened a sun after being propelled into it by the 3 Thors. Hence, it can absorb light. Loki, the Necro God, extinguished the sun after being hurled into it by Thor. He devoured almost all the stars and planets in the universe, transforming it into a necroverse. Knull, the god of the symbiotes, originated and initially brandished the Necrosword. He garnered his initial taste of blood as he beheaded a celestial. We all recall when he impaled King Thor from behind in King in Black. Remember when Thor admonished Gorr as he witnessed the collapse of his created world? He told him, "It's not your weapon anymore. It laughs at you, Gorr. Its name is All Black the Necrosword, the slicer of worlds, the Annihilablade, and it was meant to be wielded by a god. But you were right about one thing. It was also meant to kill them." Shortly thereafter, he unleashed a tremendous surge of lightning from his 2 Mjolnirs upon Gorr. It wasn't long after that Thor became Thor the Destroyer, after he briefly merged with All Black. And Thor declared during his confrontation with Galactus, "You spoke truth, devourer of worlds. I am Thor the Destroyer. I am the Thor who reaps, the Thor who devastates. I was the Thor who demolished the earth, who stood aside and watched it crumble. Now, I am the Thor who will protect this stone until the last star bursts, until the spaceways are lifeless and silent, and the heavens blaze with fire." We witness him collide with Galactus with such force, it sends Galactus staggering backward while also fracturing into pieces. He crushes Galactus with an extremely potent blast of necro lightning. Do you remember when Galactus became the Butcher of Worlds? When he left numerous planets hollowed, bisected another planet and consumed its core? Ultimately, Ego severed Galactus's arm, became Necroworld, and devoured the Butcher of Worlds. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the all-black Necrosword and its feats. If you did, please like this video and subscribe if you wish to see more content like this.